Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Ripple Effect Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Harper. I am truly blessed that you guys give me the time and your attention and the amazing conversations that are occurring because of these guests. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to give you a little suggestion. One of the things that we have done is that we are making some of this content a little bit deeper dive of the content accessible through our subscriber base. If you're not following us or paying to be a subscriber on Patreon or Substack, what are you waiting on, right? This gives you exclusive access to me. It gives you also exclusive access to be able to ask questions based on these episodes to our guests, and they are responding. We've had a number of people that have been really excited about this because it gives them a little bit of a behind-the-scenes version of the Ripple, version of me, and of course, these episodes that we're doing, which we so love, and we have such amazing guests. So if you're not following us on Substack or Patreon, you better get with the program and fix that right now. Fix that. For a small monetary investment, you show us that this work is important, it's valued, and you allow us and my team to continue to do it and bring these great episodes, these great guests, this great content to you, and then bring a completely different version of that. Maybe sometimes a slightly off color, sometimes a little bit R-rated, sometimes not in a bad way, but some different approaches to what we're doing to this more public-facing content, which, behind the scenes, like when you're like in the club, you're like in the VIP section. The only thing missing is bottle service at that point. Let's just be honest. All right. You got to go check it out. You got to be a part of it. So with no further ado, let's dive in right now to this episode of the Ripple Effect Podcast.
And so what I realized, like literally last week, was I haven't had a need for faith. I haven't had a need for belief in a higher power or something because I haven't put myself in positions where faith is required. If I'm walking across a stream and all the stepping stones to get me to the other side are 1 foot apart, I don't need any faith. I can just look ahead and just follow the path. But something like this, where I send out an invitation and I have nothing planned other than a vision and like an idea and a desire to do it, now the chasm opens up and faith is required that things will work out. That's kind of the underlying desire for me to do this, is like I'm proving to myself that faith is important, basically.
I am super excited to have Austin Willman join us today. Austin is just one of the coolest dudes you're going to meet, and probably a saint and a prince in my mind. Let me just give you some background. Austin and I recorded an interview earlier this year before I went out for shoulder surgery. I thought I had transferred all the files to our editing team, and I know I was in process of doing it, but I also know that like squirrel, and it didn't get it over off my little local area into where they take these files. And so then I got all, do surgery. I'm hopped up on drugs. I'm doing stuff one-handed. And I decide in my grand wisdom to go clean out my files to make more room for my MacBook Pro, right? Seems in theory a great idea until my editor's like, hey, dude, where's the files for Austin's interview? And I'm like, oh, dude, I thought I uploaded them. Let me go back. And then I'm like, ooh, what happened here? And then the drug haze cleared. And I was like, oh, my God, what do I do? So then I had to mea culpa that to Austin, and I thought he was going to be super mad. He was just awesome about it. He's like, dude, let's just do it again. We'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. And that is what we're doing today. And I'm so grateful because this guy is awesome on so many levels. You're going to love him. He has a agency called Willman Ventures, and he has a new podcast called Slingshot. We're going to talk about both of these things today. I'm excited for you guys to meet him. He is that cool a dude. He actually picks up my street cred. Like tenfold just by having him on the show. That's how cool and awesome this guy is. I think you're going to love it. So let's dive into this episode with Austin Willman right now. Guys, I am super pumped and excited for you guys to meet Austin Willman. Austin, welcome to the Ripple Effect Podcast. How you doing, brother?
I am great, Steve. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. This is take two for us. So I mea culpa, as on hopped up on drugs for my shoulder surgery. I must have mistakenly deleted our original interview, which was off the charts awesome. So, I feel really bad, but I am so grateful that you are giving us another shot and coming back because I know, man, you got a lot of things happening right now. So catch us up. What's going on in your world?
I feel like you did that on purpose, Steve, because you just wanted an excuse to talk to me again, and I don't blame you because I'm the same way. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved our first conversation. So
Well, I
yeah,
didn't do it on purpose and I won't do it this time. I promise you, because my editor is like
okay.
waited with bated breath. He's like, dude, the minute you get up, I want to make sure those files get transferred.
Right. Send it over to me right now.
Yes.
No, man. What I'm most excited about right now is the launch of a new product. It's called Slingshot, and
Oof.
it's in not so many words, it's a speed to lead voice agent that helps home service businesses follow up with inbound leads immediately. It's a problem I've identified through friends who run construction companies, solar companies, roofing companies, etc. They have forms on their website. They may be running Google ads, but when a lead comes in, they are
Yep.
manually responsible for putting it into the CRM, depending on which CRM. And
Yeah.
then someone has to manually call that lead, and it could be 48 hours, it could be an entire weekend before that lead gets contacted. So
Which is not
this
a good
this
impression
product
for the customer,
solves that.
right? Yeah. Not a good
It's
impression
not a
for
good
the
impression for
initial
the
customer.
customer, and yeah, in commoditized industries like home services, like roofing and things like that, like people just want their problem solved.
Yep.
So they're going down the list.
That is like super. So, how did you decide on that as a vertical for the service space? Because it's so underserved, or because there's so much volume? Tell me the motivation behind focusing in that vertical initially.
Yeah. So I have a background in door-to-door solar. So I came to Arizona. The reason was I got a job selling solar door to door, and then I stayed in that industry for 3 years. So I was managing a team in California. I got to understand a little bit more about the install process. And I see, like, I've been a part of multiple solar companies and have friends in all kinds of different solar companies, and I see the process. Like, typically home service companies, the founder comes from a tradesperson. Like, they
Yep.
started with a hammer, with a drill in their hand, and they're most of them are not very tech forward. So
Yeah.
they built this company around a great service. And when I talk to them, they're like, I don't know anything about that tech stuff, about the AI stuff. It'd be really great, but I just don't have the time and I don't have the know-how.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple more things behind that, different experiences that I've had, and different experiences that I've had, which contribute to why selecting that niche made sense. But yeah, I have experience there.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to need to talk offline because I don't know if you know this about me, but I own a construction project management software firm. And we've been looking at some ways to apply some elements to that more of the residential space. We've got kind of a couple of unique
Mm,
offerings that are coming, and so I had no idea that you were going to focus on this area. So I mean, we got more to chat about, bud, but we'll have to do it offline so we don't reveal all of our secrets. But
yeah,
I love the
yeah,
fact that you know the market and you selected the niche with intention. You've got
yeah.
this extensive marketing experience in general, which kind of led you into the digital agency kind of realm. What was it about making the leap from sort of that solar sales kind of role into the digital agency space that sort of most intrigued you anyway?
Good question. If I look over the span of my adult career, let's say, actually the divergence into solar or door-to-door sales was kind of like an outlier. From the beginning, I have been involved in tech and
Okay.
in sales, business development. I even moved to Malaysia for just over a year to work at a tech and marketing company. So my background is in tech. My
Yep.
background is in like communication and business development. And I was just at a place in my life. It was like shortly after COVID, where I was like, okay, I want to be in a beautiful place. I want to have a place where I can have a high earning potential and make my own schedule. As a 1099 contractor in the solar industry, back in the good old days, like, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
you could have all of those things. It's a lot different now, but yeah.
So you come from the tech background and now you're kind of marrying that experience into this marketing space, which, as we all hear, like, I know you're an expert in AI and looking at all of the different applications that are occurring in that space. What does, and let's just call it a general business owner that has a product or a service, what are they missing out on relative to AI and the impact it has to helping expand the reach of their brand, or what they should be paying attention to build that aspect of their brand?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a couple elements to look at. One, you have the marketing side of things, which is how do we communicate our message to the right people and do it more frequently and at a higher, at a higher volume to reach the more of the right people. And then
Yep.
you have AI in terms of the internal applications for operations. How do we make things more efficient? Right? I can have a $3 million a year roofing company. Which is great, but they have messy internal operations.
Yeah.
They're going back to job sites. They're reordering materials. They're spending time doing things that they don't need to do. And then I could have with a slim profit margin, but then I could have a $1.5 million roofing company, which all their operations are super streamlined. There's like one person touching every step of the process, and we
Yep.
don't need to redo things. Like, there are two elements to it, and I think where most people are, or most business owners are looking at AI, they're saying like, how can I use it to leverage the first,
Yep.
and like the first aspect, which is how do I reach, how do I extend out? And my response to that is probably the reason you're thinking of expansion of your business is because you're not getting the margins that you want internally currently.
Yeah.
And the approach that I take, which is different than most, like, let's say, typical agencies, is we say, okay, what do we currently have within your ecosystem where we can eke out more incremental gains in your profit margin to basically reduce duplicate work? How can we make things more efficient? How can we handle customers faster? So and then install systems to increase the likelihood of referrals and other things that lower the customer acquisition cost. Therefore, when we do turn on the marketing, we do start to run ads, we do start to do things to communicate the brand. Now you understand it makes a lot more sense, and it's going to be a lot easier for us to turn on that spigot because it's not going to stress the operations of the business. So that's what I would say. Like, if you're looking at AI, like, look in your own backyard first before you go across the fence and say the grass is greener over there.
So with your consulting space, you're not just helping build the marketing effort or create the brand campaigns. You're actually helping them create the baseline, the foundation to be ready to take on that business, depending on where they are and what size organization it is. You're sort of refining that process and understanding what am I working with beforehand, because if I could have a two-person operation, and if I overwhelm them with a bunch of leads and they're not able to get back to them or not able to actually have conversations that actually gain them business, or they can't get the quotes out the door fast enough, it doesn't really help them. Actually, it hurts them in a big way because you're actually compromising their brand reputation. But you're kind of looking, beneath the surface and saying, okay, where's this company? How's it positioned? What's the operations look like? And what do we need to tweak in order to get them ready to play major league ball? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the sneaky part about this, Steve, is when so I lead my offer stack. There's a sequence of events that happens, that unfolds. I want to make it very easy for a business to say yes. So my initial offer is called Slingshot, the speed to lead agent, which solves a problem that is very obvious. It's low hanging fruit. And it doesn't really take a whole lot to set up. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
doing, we're not revolutionizing the business. We're just plugging something into a current system to bridge a gap and make it happen faster. But the cool part is the nature of a voice agent. It is a voice. It has to have a perspective. It has to have guardrails on what it can say and what it cannot say.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
I'm onboarding a new client, part of that intake process is a little bit of the brand design. Like, please share with me your brand voice docs. Like, what are the things that you want to say? and don't want to say, what are the parameters? How do you describe your brand, describe your business? And it makes sense to the business owner because they're like, okay, yeah, it's like I'm training a new salesperson. I have to have
Yeah.
them understand the company. Okay, a couple, the next step, a little further down the road, it's like, okay, now we're ready to turn on the marketing. Oh man, that sounds like a big lift. It's like, well, actually, during your initial onboarding, we already captured a bulk of your brand information. All I need now is just a couple more things
Fill in the
for us to
blanks.
get
Yeah.
up and rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So segmenting things out to onboard a new client, understanding where the offer stack is going and what we can actually do if we execute this plan. It makes it less, how do I say this, less frantic on the business owner to feel like they're overwhelmed with a lot of things that they have to do. It's step by step. It's gradual.
Oh, that's awesome. And even though you're focused on the, kind of the home improvement slash construction space, it sounds like this is a model that could work for virtually any type of business. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely could. The reason that I'm focusing on home services is, well, one, right now I spend a lot of time in front of my computer. I host my own podcast where I'm interviewing marketing leaders who are at the forefront of AI. And I understand that, blue collar or, construction jobs are robots are coming, right? Like Uncle Elon's he's gonna come for you.
Yeah.
Um, but they're lagging in terms of AI adoption. So one, I can be a big fish in a small pond. I can be the hero for these guys. Two, I know it's a relatively safe market for the next few years due to the adoption rate of AI that's displacing jobs. It could, this system could be used for agencies, but man, agencies are building their own solutions like left and right.
Yeah.
So why don't I just go to an industry that actually would be more receptive to this?
Sure.
They're grateful that someone can speak their language who's been in the construction, the door-to-door space, and can bridge the gap with the technology. And then also knowing that, there's a huge number, like private equity, we're not going to get into it, but
Yeah.
private equity and family offices are looking to roll up all kinds of HVAC, roofing, plumbing companies. So there is demand on the buyer side, which is a
Sure.
whole different conversation of like, what sort of a multiple can you get from your home services company? If you did want to exit, you can get a much higher multiple if you have systems and automations installed. So
That's a
yeah,
great
a lot of
point. Oh,
different angles.
I love that. So let's take a step back for a second. Like we dove right in, right? And I just knew we would because based on how our conversation was the last time, we would be like totally jamming already on the business side. But I want my audience to know who Austin is a little bit on the personal side. So give us a little bit of your origin story and how you became the awesome superhero we see before us today.
I love that question, Steve. There was a book that shaped the way I think, and it's called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. It
Oh
came
yeah,
out,
okay,
I don't know,
yeah, I know
yeah,
that book.
years ago. One of the questions that he asks in the book is, think back to a time in your life where something happened and you changed from who you were to who you're becoming now. And I was
Ooh,
like, oh,
yeah,
that's a really
that's
good
really
question
good.
because I could point, right? I was like, oh, this is the instance. But I grew up in a small town, under 1,000 people, a little town called Attica, Ohio, and I was always the odd one out. I didn't want to work on the farm. Both sides of my family are farmers, so I went to the Ohio State University to get into a bigger city.
Yeah,
Studied psychology, got a couple of jobs out of university that had nothing to do with my degree, as is the
pretty typical.
that's
Yeah,
kind of the pattern, right?
yeah.
I started my first business called Mantra Mind Management, and this was
Mm,
all about helping adolescents and teenagers, juniors and seniors in high school figure out really what it is that they like, who they are before they decide what they want to do and spend a bunch of money on college. That was my experience. That was my first business. It led me to reading a book called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen
mm,
Lakhiani, who's the founder of Mind Valley. I loved it. Looked on their website. They had an opening. That opening brought me to Malaysia. I worked with all sort of tech and marketing and global authors. started my own coaching company. After that, I moved to Istanbul. And then after doing that for a while, I came back to the US for a bachelor party in Scottsdale, Arizona, fell in love. And then that's how I got into the solar industry.
No kidding. And that's where you are
Yeah.
today, right? That's where we find your feet
Yeah.
as of
Yeah.
this
I'm in
recording.
Phoenix right
Okay.
now. Hmm.
I love that. So, and in that time you got married, right?
I'm getting married in
Oh,
November this year.
okay. That's right. You got engaged. Okay. Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. Where are you guys holding the wedding?
We are doing it in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
I remember that from our
My
last conversation. That's right. And man, what a destination that's going to be.
yeah. And funny enough, so my fiance is Brazilian. She's from Sao Paulo, or a suburb
Yeah.
of Sao Paulo, and it's a destination wedding for both of us. Her family is Sao Paulo, which is about an hour flight to Rio. So we're like, okay,
That's awesome.
we're not going to host it in Sao Paulo because we wanted her family to experience a vacation too.
That's fantastic. Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
exciting. Exciting times coming up for you for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, so from the personal side, right? The thing that I was so impressed with you when you and I first connected and we started talking about, having you on the podcast is you are just such a really out of box thinker. You clearly go into these things, these different areas of expertise that you've dove into over the years, with both feet. Where does that curiosity and where does that drive come from?
There's a lot of work, a lot of personal development work that I've done. So if you're unfamiliar with Mind Valley, you can go ahead and look them up. It's
Yep.
mindvalley.com. That sort of time in my life, 2018 through 2020, I would say, is kind of like the ethos of my curiosity, I guess. I've always been a curious person, and I've always had this weird desire. I don't know where it came from, Steve, but I've always had this weird desire to like stand out.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins has these 6 basic human needs, and right at the top there is variety and consistency. And
Yep.
it's a spectrum like everything else, not black and white. I find myself on the variety side every single opportunity I've taken. I want to be unique, I want to be different. And the work that I've done recently through plant medicine like ayahuasca and breath work and other holistic kind of therapies that are a little bit out there. I did one called Family Constellations a couple weeks ago that was very enlightening. My friend just introduced me to human design, which is very woo woo, but I was like crying almost on the call because I was like, this is so me.
Yeah.
So I think that drive to, just to be succinct, that drive comes from the need for individuality, the need for variety and uniqueness. Um, but the caveat to that is if I look back through my life and find where variety has guided my decisions, I've enjoyed and just like felt like I got that need fulfilled. But if I look into my future and I say, what would need to happen? What kind of situations would I need to be in order for me to close the gap on where I am now and where I want to
Hmm.
be? It's the exact opposite of the 6 basic human needs. It's all about consistency, and it's all about like love and connection versus like individuality, and it's all about contribution versus growth. Again, they're spectrums, but yeah, I think it was just this need to like have the attention on me. There's more that I could go into that's a little bit like deeper in terms of like family dynamics, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave it there.
Well, that's a good place to leave it. It's just, I think it's infinitely fascinating, especially when you are a self-described farmer's kid that just went the opposite direction. I mean, you got off the
Yeah.
farm and I mean, the world opened up to you in terms of possibility and direction. To me, at least from an outsider's perspective, it seems like you'll follow, the paths that most interest you. And when you get into that, not just from a business perspective, but even a personal development, you're all in, you're committed. And that's really inspirational. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'll tell you a story toward the end if we have time about the experiments that I'm running in my life right now.
Why not now? Let's do it now. I mean, this would
Yeah.
be a perfect opportunity. In fact, before you do that, though, I will say that I've had a prior guest on, Mel McSherry, that I should connect you with. She's based in Chicago, and she does human design consulting. So I think you guys would
Mm.
like totally geek out on that stuff. she's a really, really fascinating lady, and was a great guest on the podcast. And she's part of my Ripple community called The Pond. She's amazing. I think you'd love her. So we'll do
Cool.
that as an after show follow up, because I think you would really benefit from knowing her as well. She would totally dig you as well. So, but
Nice.
so the experiments. Okay, so define what that looks like and kind of what got you into looking at this, because you can't improve what you don't measure is kind of what I'm guessing, right? So
First of all, the thought that you just said, hey, I want to connect you with someone that I know, that's kind of the basis of I guess you could call it an experiment
okay,
that I'm running right now. So I just had this, it was after a breathwork session a couple weeks ago that my fiance got me I got her for her birthday. Um, and I was just reflecting on it, and I don't know what it is about my shower, but that is just like a portal to another world. Like I have my best ideas in the shower,
same.
and maybe you too. I don't know.
Yep, yep,
Yeah, something about the reticular activating system being disengaged. Anyway,
yeah,
um, I just had this thought of many of the opportunities and the most important people in my life have been second degree connections. So a perfect example of that is I know Steve. Steve introduces me to his friend in human design. Her and I may have a fantastic business relationship or crazy opportunities open.
yeah,
Who knows? Right? So this concept of second degree connections just came through to me, and I was just mulling it over, and I was like, man, I
yeah.
see it all over LinkedIn that the concept of like a dinner party is coming back. It's now in
Sure,
vogue because of all this AI stuff.
yeah,
So I was like, you know what? I should host a dinner party, and I should not. I should make it again. My need for variety and uniqueness. I should make it sort of mysterious and draw boundaries. It's not just like, hey, come and have dinner. So here's the idea. And I just secured the location for this yesterday. So I already sent out the invites. I already had this in motion. But the end of the day, like the idea is I want to prove to myself that I can just do whatever I want because I want to do it. No other reason, no business gain, no whatever. It's
it's
just
not
like I
angle.
have a
Yeah,
freaking
it's not
idea.
marketing strategy. It's just because you want to. Yeah, I love it.
Yes, 100%. That is enough of a reason. That's what I wanted to prove to myself. So the concept is I hand wrote, I have the invitations here. I don't know if you can see them,
That's
but
awesome. Yeah,
yeah, it's got, yeah, it's got my name on it, like bougie, whatever. So I hand wrote invitations to people who were influential in my life who live in Phoenix. And I say, this is how you've impacted me as a person. I want to introduce you to other influential people. I will share the time and the date are on the back, but the location will only be shared when the following is completed. You are responsible for confirming the attendance of 3 more guests. The first one is someone who has traits you admire. The second one is someone you trust unconditionally. And the third person is someone you wish to know better.
ooh, I
Once
love
you have
that.
confirmed their attendance for this time and date, put us all in a group chat and I will share the location and more information about the event. So,
Awesome. That's awesome. That's fantastic. So you're just now putting these things out. Of your are you waiting on people to respond? Have they just gone in the mail, or this is just starting to get rolling? Because you secured
yeah,
the
yeah, it's just
location, so
starting to
it's
get
got to be
rolling.
happening.
Yeah, yeah, it's on July 11th.
Okay.
So, it's coming up. It's a Saturday. I have one confirmed group of 4. Um she's the president of our Toastmasters club. She runs like a international sales coaching business, and she was telling me the people she brought in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, these are like really powerful people." Um And then I just talked with one of my other guests on Saturday. He's like starting to get his guests around. Same thing with the other couple folks. So one of them works for the mayor at her office, so like influential in local politics. So things are getting rolling. I have it's literally the apartment building across the street from me, which has an absolutely freaking gorgeous rooftop like community space, and that's
Yeah.
where we're going to do it.
Sweet.
I confirmed that yesterday. I'm now looking for food sponsors because I did promise a dinner event. And
Sure.
the whole trick here, Steve, is I have to be resourceful enough to get people to buy into a vision without the exchange of money. I'm not paying for the shit. Like
Yeah.
somebody like I have to position it and market it in a way that benefits all parties involved, but without the exchange of money. So that's my challenge right now.
Hey Ripplers, before we jump back in, I want to take a quick moment to share 2 ways you can go even deeper with us. First, if you're enjoying this podcast, you'll love our paid subscription offers on both Substack and Patreon. That is where you'll get exclusive content, behind the scenes insights, and extra resources about connections and relationships that you won't read anywhere else, plus a few little other ditties. It's a great way to support the show and stay connected between episodes. And let's be honest, if you're craving something even more immersive, and who isn't, check out our Connect and Grow Ripple coaching program. Man, this is a full year of coaching, content, and community designed to help you become a more engaged connector and leader in both life and business. I love this program. I think you will too. You'll join a vibrant community of like-minded Ripplers to gain access to master classes led by dynamic experts, including me, attend live workshops, group coaching sessions, and get the accountability and actionable strategies you need to build more meaningful relationships to create an even bigger ripple effect out there in the world, which who doesn't want that? You can find the links in the show notes to sign up today. Hope to see you over there. Ripple on. I mean, you're way smarter than I am about this. I mean, first and foremost, hats off to you for such an incredible approach. I have a friend that did something similar that completely changed her life. So we should talk about that offline. It's also really, really reminiscent. You talk about best ideas in the shower. I host these events called 8-Minute Ripples. They're networking for non-networking people. And you can't come with any kind of any elevator pitches, no business cards, nothing that denotes status. And then we use the power of ripple connection questions to get people in conversation. And it's just amazing to watch people who may not have otherwise connected in life, how deep they go in such a short period of time. And as there's kind of a connotation to it, we do it in 8 minutes, but you're in a pond together with 5 other people, right? So everybody kind of mills about and engages, but then at the end, everybody gets to do what I call adult swim, where, okay, here's what I do if you're interested professionally, but it's not a pitch. It's just, hey, this is me. But the fun thing about it is that when you get people that come at this completely unique experience to be in conversation with someone like, say, like yourself, that I would never have anticipated there being, hey, we had this in common or we've got that in common. I call these connection points. They become the excuse for us to have the next conversation. It's your interest in travel. It's your interest in where you go diving. It's the fact that you're like a big skateboarder, or you love mountain biking, or you've got a new puppy at home, or whatever the thing is. That hook, that connection point becomes the dialogue jumping off point and the foundation from which we build a relationship going forward. And so the cool thing about what I was going to suggest for your idea is find how you connect into like the restaurant, like association there in Scottsdale, and say, who are the up and comers that are still working for other restaurateurs, I guess would be the appropriate word. And the ones that are going to eventually be the breakout stars and have their own place, but just not there yet. And then get them to be the featured chefs for the night, and then find a way to sort of collaborate with even their existing employers to say, look, good name, good way, but also a way for us to put some spotlight on our core talent. And you'll create a ripple not only for the restaurant, but you'll create a ripple for the chef who they recognize as the star that is, going to have their own thing one day, but today they just need that notoriety and that visibility. You might actually create like a really cool, repeatable momentum there for that space.
Dude,
I don't know if that helps, but that's how I would do it in 30 seconds.
This conversation.
I love the idea though, man. That you're innovative as hell. That's awesome.
So I was just like, you know what? Here's another thought that came through to me is I realized through a couple of these sort of holistic woo-woo engagements like breathwork and family constellations and ayahuasca, they're all tapping into a deeper sense of spirituality. Yep. And I have considered myself spiritual, but I grew up Catholic and just despised as a kid, like sure. I was very rambunctious, and that was like the place where I was supposed to be quiet and follow the rules, and I absolutely hated that. So
color outside the lines, brother. I love that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
from an early age. And so what I realized, like literally last week, was I haven't had a need for faith. I haven't had a need for belief in a higher power or something because I haven't put myself in positions where faith is required,
Yeah.
right? If I'm walking across a stream and all the stepping stones to get me to the other side are 1 foot apart, I don't need any faith. I can just look ahead and just follow the path. But something like this, where I send out an invitation and I have nothing planned other than a vision and an idea and a desire to do it, now the chasm opens up and faith is required that things
Yeah.
will work out.
That's right.
So, man, that's kind of the underlying desire for me to do this, is like I'm proving to myself that that faith is important, basically.
I love that. I love that.
Oh.
Well, by way of another introduction, a good friend of mine happens to live in Scottsdale that I went to high school
Mm,
with. She is tied to a hotel family. I don't know
mm,
if they have properties there in Scottsdale necessarily, but they could potentially she could potentially hook you up with some local talent from the food perspective.
mm.
Or if you do it again, right, where else you could have it. But there may be a
Yeah.
connection. So, I owe you two connections. One probably more immediate because of the timing of your event on the 11th. But I think she might have some really good ideas and as well as some maybe good connections that could help you. And and you just kind of prove this process out, right? Even though you haven't had the dinner yet, just this conversation about what you're putting out into the universe and this is what I want to do and why I want to do it, that just automatically kicked off a totally different level of conversation between us that says, hey, maybe I can help here or I can contribute there. And that's the value of what you're trying to do, is create those magical moments of opportunity. Because if you go into it with a predetermined thing, right, and there's like a system and an approach to trying to get people to engage and have conversation, even in a prescriptive methodology like a podcast, right, you
Mm.
miss the opportunity to create magic in an instant when you find the opportunity. And so, my hat's off to you. I mean, the 11th is going to be successful. It's going to be well attended. You're going to have some of the most amazing people, and you're going to get a lot of people that actually give you 100% of the credit for it, which is going to be amazing.
You
And I know
said
that's not why you're
something.
doing it, right? But at the end of the day, it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's really good for you because it feeds your soul.
You said something really interesting right there. Today is June 23rd. I want you to see the date here if you can. Is June
Okay.
22nd.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This is my journal and I'll read this to you, but it
Okay.
says, "The magic I witnessed today." That was yesterday, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points of
Yep.
magic that I witnessed. This is part of a methodology called the Silva method. I learned this at Mind Valley, where at the
Okay.
end of each day, you say, "The magic I witnessed today is," and then you reflect upon your day. And the point of this exercise is to say, let me just share like 1 or 2 things. The magic I witnessed today is Casey, who's the community manager at the location I just secured. Casey softened up and connected with me after yeah, I mean, that's all I wrote. Casey softened up and connected with me. So like magic in life is not like, it's nothing crazy. It's like seeing someone who's poised and stiff and serious crack a smile when reference something about something silly that happened to you this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
And the point is, if you're getting into the habit of reflecting upon your day and finding these little magical moments, when you go out the next day, you start to recognize it in the present. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa, my life is magic, man. I can do whatever I want. So that's
Yep.
the whole, let me just, yeah, to be woo woo on the Ripple Effect podcast here. That's what's on top of my mind these days.
Well, so you and I are very much in alignment in terms of thinking. When I do a presentation, I'm speaking to an audience, doing a keynote, whatever, I always tell people, like, the ripples that you create, you have the opportunity to create positive ripples out there in the world or negative ripples. It's up to you, right? And how you approach the world is exactly how the world approaches you back, right? So if you walk around completely enamored with your phone and sort of super distracted, or you walk around as a, disgruntled curmudgeon, right? The world will throw more of that in your path because it just happens. But if you actually put things away, you look up and look out, and you actually make yourself approachable, you make yourself look like you're someone that would be worthy to talk to, the world throws more of that into your space. And the way that you do it is by intentionally looking for ways to make a difference in the world. Maybe that smile that you thought was no big deal to the cashier at the grocery store was, like that was no skin off your nose whatsoever. But they had probably had 5 customers that didn't even acknowledge them, weren't very, very friendly, didn't even, really try to engage them in any capacity. And you make that one little gesture to show, hey, there's human kindness right in the moment. Holding a door open, picking up a piece of trash that 15 people have walked over since yesterday, right? These little things are these, you cast the stone, you create the ripple, but the ripples ripple out, but they always ripple back to you. But the one indisputable reality of that is you have no idea how deep and how far that rock that you toss into the pond goes when your action is out there in the world. And so what you're trying to put out there with these magic moments and looking at that is very much that, right? So there's an alignment in so many ways in terms of what your philosophy and approach is versus what I teach people, right? If you go out there and intentionally try to create positive ripples, if you just go through your day at the end and you just decide, hey, my intention today, as I set off into the world, is to make one difference to somebody or something today. Then when you lay your head on your pillow at night and you go through your day, all of a sudden now your body is like filled with endorphins. It's filled with good memories. It's filled with like, hey, dude, you did it right today. You actually made a difference. Look how many different ways you made a difference. And then you're hungry to do it again tomorrow.
There are 2 separate pieces of data or studies that I remember, and don't quote me on the source because I don't really know, but I read them somewhere. One is that mirror neurons in the brain, when somebody sneezes or somebody yawns and then you yawn back, that's a mirror neuron. Or when somebody
Yep.
smiles at you or raises their eyebrows and you do the same thing, those neurons are have been documented to fire within like 2 weeks of life.
Yep.
They're fundamental. Like they come from, they're the building blocks of
Yeah.
being human, these mirror neurons. So that's one thing. The second thing, a little bit more obscure and abstract, let's say, but there was a study where I can't remember who did it, but they were testing basically like arousal and focus and
Yep.
the relationship between the two. And they had a control group where they said, okay, we're going to have you focus on something and like memorizing a list of words and then repeating what you memorized. And then we are going to distract you with a neutral stimulus, something else. I don't know, some TV show. And then we're going to have you come back and do the same thing. That was the control group. The test group was the same thing, but the stimulus instead was adult content, like
Mm,
stuff that is not safe for work.
right.
And they looked at this and then came back to try and focus. And the results were it took almost twice as long, maybe longer, for the ones who were stimulated with that adult content.
Mm-hmm.
It took them almost twice as long to focus back on what they're doing. The reason I'm bringing these two together is because when you share something positive, mirror neurons fire automatically, and the sense of that arousal or that dopamine state lasts far longer than that
Yep.
moment. It lasts way longer than we ever imagine. Man, the ripple effects that you can have on any person, the smallest things, like the way you carry yourself, I don't even know. I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah.
It's so fundamental.
Well, it is. And when you can really put the power of it to work for you, not only are you going to positively impact your local environment and the people that cross your path on a daily basis, but you're going to attract more of those folks who can change your life as well, add or enhance it. I mean, I tell people, I mean, I get the reputation because of my book, like, oh, it's a book about how to build your network. I'm like, no, dude, it's a book about how to connect as a human being with another person, heart to heart, belly to belly conversations. But it's really geared towards trying to attract and build your life around the kind of people that really inspire, motivate, and drive you to be a better person than you are, and show the power of being in that moment and what that can bring to other aspects of your life. Like you said, the mirror neurons and the buzz that you get going forward. There's so much data and science about the fact that if you can cast yourself in that light, and this is more than just mind over matter. It's legitimate science
Mhm.
about brain chemistry. And now that's where innovation comes from. That's where creativity comes from. And a conversation between two dudes, like, you're super cool. I'm probably not as cool on any way, shape, or form as you. But that's why two people like us on ends of the spectrums could actually connect over something cool. And then all of a sudden, all that prejudgment and the stories we might tell each other or tell ourselves about the other person, they just drip away. And then that's where the magic happens, right? And so,
Mhm.
like you said, like, Casey that you mentioned earlier, like, maybe this person's like a little bit of a, kind of a, I don't know, reserved, or maybe a little bit more of a challenged individual to get through. But you pitch
Mm.
the idea and say, hey, look, this is why I want to do it. And this is part of the community. I mean, you run this complex, and that's what it's about. That's why you have this space, is to create opportunities for community, and we want to create it. Maybe it's a little bit more private in this moment based on the audience that I'm bringing, but at the end of the day, it's in the spirit of the entire approach that you have here for this place. And then you get that reaction like, okay, never thought about that, or wow, that's a great idea, or but they'll never look at you the same. And once you have the successful event on the 11th, the 12th, they'll probably be coming back to you being like, Austin, when are we doing the next one? What's going on, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. And trying to figure out a way to, yeah, to tie all of that together. Like I mentioned, there's no, like, nobody's paying, the attendees aren't paying. Um, I really want to harp on this second degree connection thing. One of the, uh, I don't know if you saw it in my notes, but it said Momentous Man at the
Yeah.
top. It was a men's group that I went to.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the second degree connection things started to really form for me. One of the pieces of value that I'm bringing to this event, I know that the complex is short on people. What do you call them? Like renters, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have high vacancy right now. It's
Oh,
a new
okay.
complex, right?
Okay.
Okay. So that's one of the reasons that they're open to hosting an event like this, to get more people in from, it was a second degree connection who introduced me, a first degree, now a second degree to them.
Yeah.
The food, whoever is going to provide the food, maybe it's your connection. You're my first, they're my second.
Yeah.
So the one of the things that I want to share in terms of value is, like, listen, if it is a chef that's going to be breaking out and doing their own thing, they will need some sort of marketing and promotional material. Same thing with the apartment complex. They need some sort of media kit to share. Well, funny enough, I have two videographer friends who run their own business, and they document big events like High Rocks event, or there's like a big like Latina festival out in Gilbert that happens every year. Thousands of people. His company documents that. I
That's
met these
awesome.
two videographers as a second degree connection. I was introduced to both of them, and they're both really cool guys. But imagine they can come in and say, "Hey, on my portfolio now, I was the company that did the media kit for this new bougie apartment complex, and I was part of helping this, now famous chef 3 years down the road. I helped him get his start, and I
Yep.
can go and pitch the location and the chef, hey, wouldn't you like some, like, help marketing yourself with media? Funny enough, if you're the sponsor for this event, we're going to put together a media kit for you and help you market yourself." And here I am, just like kind of playing the
Just,
marionette and being
yeah.
like, dude, let's just put a bunch of people together in this petri dish and, like, put an electric shock in there and kind of see what happens.
I love that.
So that's where the experiment thing comes from.
I love that. I think it's such a cool, novel concept, and the approach that you're taking, I think, is fantastic. My hat's off to you, and anything I can do to help support you, I'm happy to do it. I'll make an introduction today to my friend that's there in Scottsdale, and see if we can't at least find you some hookups there that could help.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
that'd be awesome.
listen,
That'd be awesome.
Austin, I could talk to you all day. I really, really, really love the opportunity to have these conversations with you, and can't thank you enough. But I know you're busy. I want to help you get on with your day, but I want to ask you. We normally at the end of these interviews always like to ask a few Ripple Connection questions to give people a little bit more insight as to who you are as a person, if you don't mind. Um,
Cool.
What's the one piece of advice that you would like to give to our audience about life, success, or even failure?
I have 2 sticky notes hanging on my screen over here, and I'm gonna rip one off and show it to you.
I
And this
love it.
comes from a guy named Chase Hughes, who, he was a 20-year FBI, like, not a hostage negotiator like Chris Voss,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but
yeah.
his job was basically, yeah, his job was to get people to agree to espionage. So his
Hmm.
book that he wrote is called The Behavior Ops Manual. He has a couple books,
Okay.
but I was listening to it, and one of the things he said, I was like, "Dang, that is so right." And just like you, I talked to some pretty powerful people on the podcast,
Yeah,
and I can feel insecure. So this sticky note right here, this is the advice that I would give: is everyone is suffering and insecure.
that's good.
You just never know, dude. So whenever me talking with Casey yesterday, like it's not her fault that she has her guard up, like something is going on. I later found out that she just found out she's pregnant and maybe she doesn't feel like she's ready for that. I
Yeah,
don't know. That's the advice is like, dude, everyone is insecure. Everyone has something that they're going through, and just realizing that, and like kind of like we're the overarching, I guess the overstory of this podcast is like there's the title and then there's what's beneath the title. And if you can get past that first layer, and you can do that with mirror neurons and understanding that things work with energy first and then definition second, I think you're gonna go far.
I love that. I love that. What would we find you doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now? Not necessarily just the podcast, but like professionally or, living your life in Scottsdale. Like, what else might you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now?
I've had this as a line item on like things I want to accomplish in my life for over a decade probably, and that is be a certified yoga instructor.
Nice.
So that's probably what it would be. I mean, I don't think there's a ton of money in it, but I really connect with the concepts of yoga as well as obviously staying active. But just the concept of what you experience on the mat is what you experience in your life. If you feel like um, the instructor is putting me in positions that they know I don't know how to do. Where else are you experiencing that in your life? Where else are you being the
Ooh,
victim? Where else are you feeling like, you can't stretch that or you can't do that or that's out of your range and you're blaming somebody else? So, yeah, probably a yoga instructor.
I love that. The title of the book that will be written about your life is what?
It's not a very markety title, but it would be titled "You Are Infinite and Insignificant."
I think that's pretty marketable, actually. I think that's pretty good. That's really good.
That was an insight from ayahuasca. At the end of
Okay.
the journey, I was just like standing out and looking at the sunrise over the mountains in Tucson, Arizona, and I was like, "Wow, the horizon like is as far as the eye can see, and those mountains are made up of little stones and pebbles." So it's and I just likened it to myself. I was like, wow, I have there's unbridled potential for opportunity and it doesn't matter.
I love
Like
that.
what a freeing sentiment, right? It's
Yeah.
like, wow, who
Yeah.
cares? Like at the
That's,
end of the day, who cares?
I love that. What's your most important possession?
Yeah, I don't really attach myself to many things, I suppose. I can tell you what my possession that I use the most
Yeah.
and like am I'm the type of person as acutely pointed out that when I like something I go both feet in. And so like if I have a new obsession, everybody's going to hear about it and it's going to be the only thing I talk about for like 10 days. And then I'll find something new. But my new obsession is this little guy that I got for my birthday. It is
Oh.
a Logitech Master
Oh, yeah.
MX4.
Yep.
And it's just totally badass. Changed my life. This is like a little like haptic button thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of like a fidget toy, like
Yeah.
that aligns with tech, which is perfect for an ADHD person running an AI business.
I love that. I love that. Well, last three questions. So when you think of or hear the term the ripple effect, What does that bring up for you? What does that conjure up in your mind or heart?
I was just thinking about this the other day. Have you ever seen those videos where there's these crazy adrenaline junkies and they're from a super high waterfall or something and they jump off and you're like, oh my God, you need a parachute. But they're jumping
Yep.
into water, right?
Yep.
They all do something before they jump. Do you know what that is?
They pause and they reflect.
I wish they would do more of that. Maybe they would prevent them from jumping.
They check to
But
make sure they have their
no.
will in order. I don't know what.
Right. Are you recording this, by the way? Yeah. No, I just realized this, and I just saw one come across my feed. But they all throw something out into the water before they jump.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's not like 2 minutes before. It's like they throw it and then they jump.
Yep.
And I was like, why do they do that? Do you have any idea why they would do that?
I don't know. I'd be curious because you obviously have it. I would think it would be like, hey, I'm throwing it. If it can go and it can go down, I'll follow it. I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't done the research on this, Steve. So if I'm wrong, like
Yeah.
you're going to get a bunch of nasty emails. You can just forward them to me, and yeah, they'll go right to spam. No, but like I just thought about this, that if you jump into water that is completely still, it's probably going to freaking hurt. It's like concrete. If you are at terminal velocity and you hit flat water, man, that's going to suck. But
Yeah.
if right before you have something that creates a wave, now just simple physics tells you that if something lands like this versus if something lands like this, it's going to help you absorb the impact better.
Oh, that's
So,
wonderful. Yeah.
right? I think that's why they do it, I would imagine. Yeah. So
I mean,
the ripple
even if
effect
it
is
isn't,
like,
this is what we're going with because that sounds
Yeah.
like a beautiful, beautiful reason to do it.
So the ripple effect is not only the ripples that you create as a first order consequence of the rock that you throw in, but you may be creating a space where somebody else can make an even bigger splash. And if you weren't there that created the initial ripple, they would kill themselves trying. So
That's
even
brilliant.
if it's a small ripple, just realize that there are second and third order consequences, and you could be saving somebody's life who's right behind you, and they're coming
Wow.
full bore at terminal velocity. And had you not taken the risk and generated a ripple, there would be deaths on your hands.
Wow. Wow. That is like by far the deepest approach to that question that I've heard. But I like it. I dig it. I think that's awesome. Well done.
That's what we're here for.
So, okay, then this next question really could be interesting. And to avoid terminal velocity for you, what positive ripple can I be looking to create for you?
Jesus.
And just keep in mind, I'm afraid
right.
of heights, so don't call it up like, hey, I want to go off this bridge. I'm not doing that.
I am too. Oh man. But you know what? We're infinite and insignificant. So like, if we die, who cares?
We're
Anyway,
supposed to, yeah.
not really. Not really. I do I do care about my life. Let me just be
of
very
course.
clear about that. And like, yeah, human life is sacred. What was the question, Steve? You
What
asked
ripple?
something
What
about.
positive ripple could I be looking to create for you?
I think you already mentioned it. I think just those second degree connections, that's like my
Okay.
new 10-day obsession right now. So anywhere where we can generate those, yeah, I know a guy who knows a guy is
Yeah.
like, man, that's all it is for me right now.
Done. Easy. That's easy. So Austin, I want the folks here to know what's the best way. How do you want them to follow you or connect with you? Because I feel like everybody that gets the opportunity to see you on video for our YouTube channel or hears this episode on any of the podcast platforms, they are going to be like, dude, I need this guy in my life. So how do you want them to connect with you?
LinkedIn is always good. You'll see
Okay.
the company that I'm currently contracted for as like the primary, title, I suppose. But Instagram is cool too, at Intro to Austin. And if this is probably the best way to engage. You can go to willman.ventures/speed to lead, all one word, speed to lead. And you'll see what Slingshot is, the new product that I'm releasing. And then go ahead and try it. It says like, have a test trial, and you can talk to His name is Waco, but he's the AI version of me. And he'll ask you about, what your needs are, what your business is, blah, blah, blah. So obviously I will capture your information in that call, but that'll give us a great segue to have a conversation.
That's awesome. We'll include all those links in the show notes. And Austin, I'm just so grateful for the time today. Grateful that our lives have crossed paths. We are, there's going to be a lot more to this. I mean, I feel like we're going to be great friends and supporters for many years to come. And I'm just super grateful that, we got the opportunity to do this again, and appreciate your patience to do it a second time. But this one even turned out even better than the last one. So thank you for that.
Right. Man. And thank you, Steve. Like I was so tickled when you sent me that follow-up email after I pestered you for like a month of like, dude, where's our podcast? And you're like, oh, here's what really happened. And I was like, you know what? That gives me another opportunity to hang with you. So I'm grateful that we're here. So thanks a lot, man. Whether or not you did it on purpose, I don't know.
I didn't do it on purpose. I can promise you. But I blame the shoulder and the drugs. That's all I'm saying. Which, if you're going to blame anything, that sounds like a pretty good excuse for sure. Right?
Exactly. I mean, my shoulder's all better now, but I still have one excuse, I guess. No, just kidding.
Of course. Well, guys, we'll be back with another episode of the Ripple Effect Podcast very soon. But until then, Austin, ripple on.
Rock on. Thanks, bro.
Hey, we've reached the end of another Ripple Effect podcast, and I want to personally thank you for joining us today. It's because of you that we do this work, and I want to encourage you to be sure to follow our guest, show them some love and support any way that you can. If you like this episode, share it with a friend, a colleague, or heck, just put it out to your entire network. It's through these efforts that you actually create a ripple for this show. It helps us grow and expand. And if you'd be so kind, find us on Spotify and Apple Podcast and leave us a review. That helps bring the show into the view of more audience. So we greatly appreciate that. And finally, just a quick shout out to those of you that have signed up for our Patreon and Substack. As a paid subscriber, we can't begin to thank you enough for your support. It's through this investment that you show that the work that we do matters, and it allows us to continue to do it and support it. So thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. If you haven't signed up at Patreon or Substack, what the heck, man? What's going on? Throw your boy a ripple, would you? And come on over. That's where you'll find exclusive content, some behind the scenes special stuff, and you'll also get an opportunity to reach out to our guests on the podcast. I will take your questions personally and take them to them and get you answers. How about that? That alone, that exclusive behind the scenes thing, that is worth every penny, maybe more than a couple pennies. How about that? So anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for supporting us. As always, ripple on.